Mouse. The snow was fresh but thin, a dusting that crunched softly under his boots as he moved down the south slope. The air was dry enough that sound traveled for miles. Every step, every shift of the pack straps felt too loud. Cole had left his shelter before dawn, slipping down the ridge toward the canyons that would funnel him south. He had chosen this route for its cover: broken basalt walls, dense thickets of spruce, and the occasional game trail to mask his own prints. No electronics. No lights until sunrise. A compact tarp tent was rolled into the top of his pack. His stove, a battered titanium model he had carried since the late 90s, was wrapped in rags to keep it from clanging. He still felt the phantom itch to check a radio, to hear static resolve into a voice. Out here, there was only his own breathing and the creak of straps against his shoulders. Every soldier he had ever known hated the quiet between comms. In the Gatland, silence wasn't a gap. It was the whole terrain. He wasn't going to be seen. Cat. Light snow drifted in slow spirals past the reinforced windows of the control room. The compound was buried into the slope of a gray, nameless ridge. Its concrete walls braced against decades of winter. Flags were absent. Only those who worked here knew which governments paid for its upkeep. A wall of monitors glowed in the dim light. On the center screen, grainy, high-resolution footage from Rockland played on loop. Fixed-position street cameras, storefront angles, hidden pole-mounted lens. Every view showed the same moment from a slightly different eye. 4 people lifted from the street. On the third loop, one of the technicians froze the feed. "There," he said in Russian, pointing to the figure clinging to a tree. This anomaly did not fall from the killing point. It escaped the drop. The room quieted. A woman in a dark suit leaned closer to the screen, studying Cole's strained expression, the way his hands locked on the frame. "The ones who slipped the pattern," she murmured, "are the ones we remember." "Frame ahead," Lian, director of the Northwest region, said in Mandarin. The technician advanced the video. Cole fell, vanished behind a dumpster, then reappeared limping toward the alley. "Find him," said Captain Leonid Krang, the commander of Deep Creek, standing next to Director Mao.
The lattice calls, I hear it still, beyond the river, beyond the hill. They hunt the trail, they track the prey, but wolves don't run the hunter's way.
Mouse. By midday, he had crossed the first ridge and dropped into a sheltered basin where the snow barely touched the ground. A thin creek wound through the pines, its water cold and sharp on his tongue. The water was so cold it numbed his teeth, so clean it hurt the back of his throat. He cupped it twice, then stopped. Training. Never drink until you have scanned the high ridges. A rifle glint could hide in any shard of stone. Old habits kept him alive. Superstition kept him company. He stopped long enough to eat jerky, scan the sky, and listen. Nothing. No contrails, no hum of aircraft, no buzz of drones. Just the wind rustling through the remaining leaves of quaking pines and whistling softly through the lodgepole pines. A soothing salve to Cole's ragged nerves. The closer he got to Deep Creek, the more careful he would have to be. Cat. A second feed appeared. A grainy image from a camera mounted under the awning of a warehouse equipment shelter 2 blocks from the Rockland intersection. Cole's face was partially shadowed, but his build, gait, and clothing were clear enough for the software to start its work. Algorithms spun through databases, foreign passports, driver's licenses, arrest records, military service photos. Nothing hit immediately. Mal leaned back in her chair. He's not a civilian in the usual sense. Find him. He saw more than he should have. Mouse. The canyon narrowed, the walls closing into bare stone. Here the snow was a little deeper, hiding rocks and deadfall. His ribs throbbed every climb and crouch. By nightfall, he would make camp in a narrow slot above a frozen bend in the creek. Tomorrow, if the weather held, he would reach a vantage point within sight of the deep creek perimeter. He rubbed at an ache in his thigh, the bruise stiff under layers of wool. Once he would have pushed harder, eating up another 5 miles in the dark. Now, he knew better. Movement at the wrong time made you pray. Discipline wasn't about speed, it was about living to make the next decision. He didn't know what waited ahead, only that it pulled at him the way a minefield did, invisible but certain. Cat. A match pinged. The technician pulled up a faded file photo, military issue, cropped tight, with the eyes still sharp and watchful. Mal smiled faintly. Cole Maddox, Special Forces. No active file for over a decade. That explains a lot. She stood, her voice flat. Send the intel to Directorate 4. IDO operations remain in place. If he surfaces again, we will have him. Mouse. The wind was brisk like a blade at these higher elevations. Cole pulled his scarf higher, feeling the sting on the exposed bridge of his nose. His breath came harder today, not from fatigue, but from the steady climb that took him deeper into the southern Gatlands. Leafy trees were gone, and all that was left was limber pine, Engelmann spruce, and the wind-stunted subalpine fir. By mid-morning, he moved toward the east side of the range. The path climbed onto a ridgeline so narrow he had to step sideways in places. In the east, the land fell away into a tangle of dark timber. To the west, the slope broke into jagged scree. Somewhere ahead lay the Deep Creek installation. He found it just before noon. A gap in the trees revealed a bowl-shaped valley half a mile across. In its center sat a cluster of squat concrete buildings, painted a drab forest green. A short airstrip dusted with snow cut along the valley floor. Trucks moved slowly between the structures, their paths watched by perimeter cameras mounted on tall, weathered poles. From this distance, it could pass for a military weather station, the kind nobody looked twice at. But Cole's eyes lingered on the fencing. Double chain link, with a dead zone in between. Top with angled razor wire. Cameras swept in overlapping arcs. Every 100 yards, a tall mast bristled with what looked like sensor panels. Cole's jaw tightened. Sensor overlap meant no blind spots. Somebody had designed the perimeter the way a sniper designs a field of fire, with nothing left to chance. He felt the same pressure here that he had felt walking past minefields in Bosnia, the land itself humming a warning. This was not a place built to be ignored. Cat. The large control room hummed with quiet conversation. On one wall, a map of southern Idaho glowed, topographic lines etched in pale green. A red circle pulsed over Rockland. Chief Chersky of Directorate 4, a heavy-set man with close-cropped hair, tapped a point farther south. Tell Mal that there are only 2 logical escape routes for him from Rockland without using a vehicle. This is one of them. His finger rested near the Deep Creek Valley. The comm operator sent the message and location to Deep Creek. Mal studied the intel and said to herself, would he go there? A man like Maddox would be curious. Observation, not confrontation. But if he gets close enough. She didn't have to finish the sentence.